Awesome. Welcome, everybody. I see people trickling in. Super thrilled to be presenting today. Welcome to STEP 2025. We have some exciting things. We're going to be talking all about academic success. Yeah, let's see. Just as a heads up, we have STEP starting to wind down throughout the summer. So we just have a couple more sessions. If you've missed any or want to review or reflect on any of them, those are all still available to watch. If you scan that QR code, hopefully it takes you to our STEP recap page, but that has all notes and everything we've discussed up to this point. So definitely check out that page. Highly recommend. Good to have in your back pocket in case you want to review any of the resources we covered. But yeah. Looking ahead, we have two more sessions. So next Tuesday, we have an academic success series session all about uncovering practices for academic well-being. So that will really be focused on how you can best balance your quarter, how you can start your first quarter here, feeling ready and successful with a little bit of a plan in place. Super important to have that balance. And then last but not least, we have our Meet the Transfer Hub. So that will be our final transfer talk, and it will be an opportunity to get to know us a little better. And any questions you have about anything, that will be a great place to ask those questions and just check in with anything you feel like you missed. So definitely be sure to register, mark that on your calendar. We're excited to see you then. Today's transfer talk, I am really excited to share all about how you can set up for academic success here at UCSD. I think there can be some nerves, some jitters. Maybe you've heard about the quarter system being scary. And so I'm here to unpack some of that today and make sure that you feel ready, maybe less afraid. But yeah. So to kick it off, my name is Ali Shanley. I am the transfer retention specialist with the Hub, and I really focus on all those academic pieces, whether that be helping you find balance throughout the quarter, making sure that you are prepared for that quarter system adjustment if you're coming from semesters. And I really, talk about all things related to academic strategy, study practices. Even if down the road you find yourself struggling a little bit academically, I am here as a resource. Want to make sure that you feel prepared. I was a transfer myself, which I'll talk a little bit more about. But I definitely felt that transfer shock and had that transition period. So I personally I'm here to help you through that and want to make sure that you feel supported. So definitely, I hold meetings throughout like the middle quarter to end. So that is a resource for you. But yeah, I'm really excited to meet you all and help welcome you into UCSD. This is just a little bit of an overview. So we will be talking about quarter system adjustment today. I'll also be getting into the nitty-gritty around transfer shock. Not sure if you've heard that before, but I'll be kind of explaining what that is, what it looks like. I'll also be talking about academic integrity. I felt called to. I worked for the Academic Integrity Office here at UC San Diego for close to 2 years, and so there's a lot of really important stuff that I want to make sure that you're aware of because academic integrity is a very serious thing at UCSD. So we'll talk more about that. And then we'll share some do's and don'ts, things to really make sure you're solid on and make sure things that you're maybe avoiding. And then you'll also hear from some current transfers about different tips they have. So exciting stuff. So to kick it off, wanted to spend some time a little bit talking about the quarter system adjustment. So on this slide, you can see that there is a breakdown. On the top, we have the quarter system, and then on the bottom, there's the semester system. And so what it looks like, they're both 30-week school years, but within the quarter system, instead of 2 semesters of 15 weeks, we have 3 quarters of 10 weeks. So as you can imagine, that condenses things quite a bit. So instead of having 15 weeks to spread out a class and midterms and finals and quizzes, that in the quarter system is condensed into 10-week terms. And so things happen quicker, midterms happen earlier in the quarter. So definitely be aware of that pacing. It does pick up a little bit, which I'll get into the specifics in a little bit, but it's helpful to have this visual of what the quarter system looks like. There is that differentiation. So there's a winter quarter thrown in the middle of the school year. So good to have eyes on this to kind of help visualize what that looks like. This is a little bit of a breakdown about how maybe semesters versus quarter systems might differ in terms of the way midterms and finals are scheduled. So on this side, we have the quarter system breakdown. So as you can see, there's week 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's some midterms thrown in the middle, and then it goes down to finals. This can vary a lot. Like as you see in the middle of those images, we have a midterm maybe happening week 3, and then again week 6, and again week 9. So I think professors might be a little bit all over the place with how they structure their midterms, but note that midterms can start early on week 3 of the quarter. And then as you see in the last image, there's a lot of quizzes there. Just some things we've heard from fellow transfers is that there can be quizzes as early as week 1, week 2. So just good to keep in mind. It does move fast, but we are here to help prepare you for that and make sure that you feel ready. So good to keep note of that these are happening. Midterms and quizzes might be happening earlier. That was something I definitely faced as a transfer myself. Midterms happened so much earlier and realized that I needed to go to office hours a lot earlier because of that as well. So definitely important to memorize that this might be quicker and things might happen a little bit earlier than what it looked like at your previous school. Awesome. Okay, so now this is a little bit more in depth. So as I've been mentioning, the pacing of the quarter system is a little bit, maybe a lot a bit faster. So I've heard, and even just from personal experience, the semester system, having those full 15 weeks, it can kind of move slower. You have more time to like get into those topics. And there's some lulls sometimes, like there will be weeks where it's pretty chill. There's no quizzes or not any assignments due. That looks different when it comes to the quarter system. It is very fast moving. And since you have 10 weeks to cover a whole class of content, that means that there are less breaks. There's not really that lull period that you might find in a semester system. So I think like it's good to prepare for that. It does move fast. Some people end up really liking it. I think your first quarter is a good transition period, but I think yeah, there's definitely some quicker movement happening during the quarter system. Like I mentioned in the previous slide, testing midterms can begin as early as week 3. Haven't heard of week 2, but I wouldn't put it past some professors. But definitely keep in mind that those are happening. So good to hit studying right out the gate and making sure that you have those study sessions, access to resources kind of nailed down, which we'll be reviewing today. So you should leave feeling more prepared for that. But there is a difference just in terms of the timing of where that might fall in the academic year. And then also things we've heard about that quarter system difference is the depth. So since there are only 10 weeks to cover an entire class worth of material, you might find that the depth of classes is a little bit less. You spend less time talking about specific topics and will kind of move through topics more quickly. And so that definitely might require a little bit of adjustment, but definitely good to keep in mind. Some people really like it because since you have that additional quarter, your range of topics and classes you're able to take can vary quite significantly compared to a semester system. So you might see some like niche classes and cool things, and so you get to be exposed to a lot more different kinds of content as well. So definitely a lot of pros to having that setup, but yeah, that is definitely one thing I've heard. Okay. Oh my gosh, I skipped to the end. I did it. Okay, let's see. All right. No, that's crazy. Okay. So we covered midterms. We covered mouses. Okay. There we go. Okay. Now, when it comes to classes, that is another a key thing to keep in mind. So like I kind of mentioned, you have 3 different enrollment periods, and that means you take different sets of classes each enrollment period. And so you just have different options available to you. And so good to keep in mind that enrollment happens kind of towards the end of each quarter, and it's good to be prepared thinking about when to start preparing for those, thinking about, yeah, what classes and I think additionally, something good to keep in mind is that some classes will have prereqs, or they will be kind of set up in a row so that you need to take classes each quarter. And so that is a little bit different compared to semesters when you're only going through those 2 enrollment periods, and there's sometimes less class options to enroll in. Also studying. It is really important to start studying earlier on in the quarter. For me, I was like, what the heck is studying? When I was at my community college, it was not something I prioritized early on in the quarter, and that definitely needed to change once I transferred. I was always someone who kind of like put it off, and then when the midterms hit, I was like, I should have started so much sooner. So I think starting as early as you can is really important, and also being consistent throughout. So I think studying, you can kind of get away in the semester system of starting later and then also not having to continuously study throughout the entire semester. There can be some of those lulls. I think with the quarter system, there are maybe less times to take breaks from studying. So good to keep in mind. I think sometimes that's helpful because you kind of get in a consistent groove of mapping out when to study for each class, and so that can be helpful. Let's see. Awesome. One big thing to note, and this is really important to clarify, the difference between credits at a quarter system university versus a semester system college or university is big. So first and foremost, when you transfer into UCSD specifically from a community college or even some four-year institutions, except for University of California institutions, you are coming into UCSD with not a zero like FGPA, but you will have no GPA. So that is really important to keep in mind. Your first fall quarter will be your GPA starting out and moving forward. So your community college GPA doesn't transfer over. It gets essentially wiped, and then you get a clean slate. And for some people, that's awesome, and you're excited to have that new clean slate. And then if you had a really high GPA, unfortunately, that won't weight your GPA coming into UCSD. Still put it on a resume, but just really important to note because your fall quarter GPA can set you up for those different programs available to students at UCSD. So whether that be like UC-DC, like study abroad programs, we have a National Honor Society for transfer students called Tau Sigma, and that GPA minimum is 3.5. And so it's just really important to keep in mind that those things can potentially impact programming. Not to make you worried or anything like that, but it came for a shock to me when I was a transfer. I remember mine starting over, and I was like, "What the heck? Where'd it go?" But good just to keep in mind. Additionally, when it comes to quarter credits, they also have a different amount of work required per credit. So what that looks like is in the quarter system, 3 units is equivalent to 9 hours of work. I also learned this the hard way. I remember being at my community college, and I would take some semesters probably up to like 21, 25 units, trying to get as much done as possible, being a real overachiever. And I tried to do the same when I first transferred. I think I tried to take 18 units my first quarter. That was the worst idea, probably ever. There is a pretty big discrepancy between the amount of work required at for quarter system units. And so that is really important to keep in mind. One big recommendation, I know it's a nervous thing, like getting in classes and getting the ones you need to take. I would highly recommend for fall quarter, take less classes. It is not the quarter to get ahead or be that overachiever, because it can really be a big transition going from semesters to quarters. And 12 units is enough. There will be opportunities to take summer session classes if you do want to get ahead. And I think later on in your academic journey here, once you've gone through that adjustment process, I think that is a beautiful time to take more units, but 12 is more than enough. That is definitely going to keep you on track, and I think will give you a better opportunity to adjust and still get involved with classes and extracurriculars and things like that. Additionally, if possible, it's really good to balance your first quarter classes with a mix of electives or even if you need some lower division GEs, that is really good to have that first quarter while you're getting used to like the pacing and that adjustment piece. So just good things to keep in mind. And yeah, also we do have our Q&A function. So if at any point in this presentation you have questions, please feel free to use that Q&A. We have some of our transfer coaches here, and they are experts on adjusting to the quarter system at UCSD. So don't be shy. Feel free to ask away. Really helpful to have their brains. So now that we've gone all over the quarter system and how fast it can be, I want to talk about transfer shock. And I think transfer shock has like a scary term to it. It can feel a little overwhelming coming into a new place. And what I like to highlight, this is actually something I studied during grad school. It's something I experienced myself. And it's also something that I believe all transfers experience to some capacity, whether you're coming from a community college or another four-year institution, you are navigating a whole new place. And so there is a lot of changing. You're finding new classes, finding your way around a big campus that has a lot of construction on it. But there is a lot of changes, whether that be like moving away from home for the first time or navigating part-time work, things like that. So transfer shock, as it's defined, is the likelihood for transfer students to face a dip in GPA during their first or second quarter at a new institution. And so I think it's really important to highlight this. I know that all transfers coming into UCSD are super academically rigorous. You're all really hardworking and deserve to be here so much, and there's a lot of work and effort that's put into coming into UCSD. And so it's a very high achieving institution. And I know that there's a lot of like weight put on that GPA and doing well academically. But it is important to consider that coming into a new institution, there will be a whole new learning curve. And so you may see grades that you didn't see when you were at your previous school. And that's nothing to be like ashamed of or feel bad about. It really is just an adjustment period. And I think it's incredibly widely experienced. That happened to me. I remember feeling really stressed out about getting lower grades my first quarter. But at the end of the day, there are so many opportunities to like either retake classes or kind of bulk up your GPA in following quarters once you've adjusted more. But ultimately, it's a widely experienced thing. The term was coined in the 60s, and so it has been around for a long time. So if you do find yourself struggling, maybe a midterm grade came back and it wasn't what you were expecting, know that you're not alone. We have resources here for you. And we got you. It'll be okay. And then, yeah, so to reiterate, should you be afraid of transfer shock? No, I think it is a natural feeling that will occur. There is just adjustment happening. You are so much more than your GPA. I think that is something I cannot stress enough. For myself as a student, I put so much of my like worth into those grades and GPA, but I recognized like once I graduated, really does not hold that much weight on who I am. You're a whole person, and I think it's important to take time to like reflect on that. And so I think it's important to be prepared and not scared. Using the resources that we talk about will put you in a good position to manage all these new changes. And so know that you're not alone. We got you. We got coaches who have been through it. And there's a lot of different like study resources here as well. And last but not least, challenge is good. As someone who's gone through higher ed and has worked in higher ed for close to 8 years now, I hope that you struggle a little bit. I hope that your college education and your time here is a little bit mentally rigorous. I think if it's not, then I am afraid that you're not getting much for the investment you're putting in here. And so I think having that challenge and having classes that are hard is actually really good for your brain, as long as we are able to provide you with opportunities to combat that stress and use stress in a positive way. Challenge can be really good, and it's an awesome opportunity to use the amazing brain you have. So it might be hard, but you got it and we got you. So yeah. With that, I have the privilege of passing it on to Jen, who is one of our transfer coaches, and she's going to share a little bit about what that quarter system adjustment was like for her and just a little bit of her experience, because I think hearing from a fellow transfer means a lot. So I will kick it off to Jen.
Yeah, so I transferred from a four-year institution that was semester-based, and I took like five classes over there. And when I transitioned over, same with Ali, I thought maybe I could do better with the same course like workload, but I didn't do very well, so it tanked my GPA. And I kind of realized that like to just start off like the fall quarter just with 12 units because you are kind of going through the changes of like being in a different environment, a different like system, and just like overall like connecting with your community, like your fellow transfer students as well.
Amazing. Thank you, Jen. Yes, I appreciate the solidarity. We learn through that group together. But yeah, and I will pass it over to Anne, who is another coach of ours. It was really awesome. Kick it away, Anne.
Hi everyone, my name is I am a data science major and I transferred from SDSU last year. So when I first came to UCSC, one of the biggest changes for me was adjusting to the quarter system. The pace was a lot faster compared to the semester system, and 10 weeks go by really, really quick. And before you know it, midterms and finals are like already there. So for me, the key was to learn not to procrastinate in the quarter system. If you fall behind even a little, it's kind of tough to catch up. So I start developing habits like breaking assignments into smaller pieces or setting weekly goals instead of just waiting until the last minute to do my assignment. I also found it very helpful to have a study buddy. They don't even have to be in the same class, but if they are, that is a big bonus. Having someone to check in with, encouraging each other and staying motivated really made a difference for me. And at the same times, I do remind myself to make room for balance. It is very easy to get caught up in like a constant cycle of just exams, homeworks, and projects, but taking breaks, spending time with my friends and families, and enjoying San Diego really helped me recharge. So if you're new to the quarter system, just give yourself some grace. It takes time to adjust, but you'll find your rhythm. And just remember that you're not alone in this journey. Everyone else is going through the same thing. So, yeah, take time.
Love it. Love those tips. And yes, I cannot reiterate enough, like On said, give yourself that grace. I think it's a learning curve and everyone is in the same boat. So okay. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit, and I'm going to talk about academic integrity at UCSD. And so I think this is super, super important, especially for the work I did at the Academic Integrity Office. I worked with transfer students who got academic integrity violations, and so a lot of times those were happening because they weren't aware of the academic integrity seriousness at UCSD, and sometimes other institutions just have a different take on academic integrity or have different policies. And so, really important. I'm glad that you're all here and getting exposed to this because it isn't sometimes explicitly stated. And so, sometimes we get questions about what is academic integrity. The definition that I love to use is from the International Center for Academic Integrity. And so this is truly an international center focusing on improving academic integrity efforts at universities and colleges all across the world. Their definition is academic integrity is defined as having the courage to be honest, trustworthy, fair, respectful, and responsible, even in the face of adversity. And I like this definition for three key reasons. One of the biggest ones is that it's broad. And so I think, um, yeah, one of the most important things is that this can be applied widely. This can be applied for yourself as a student, for yourself as a future professional, and for yourself as a person, and maybe even like around your friends. Like you want friends who are honest and trustworthy. You want people
We're we're struggling and we're getting some comments. Your mic is kind of doing like a robot. Do you have another mic possibly that you can switch to for audio and see if it improves? It's just getting, we were hearing and then towards the end there, it's getting harder to understand.
Am I coming through or is it still muffled?
Oh, it's still pretty bad.
Okay, let's see. Can you possibly join using my phone microphone? Let me see.
You're just quiet.
No, I'm quiet. Okay. I'm gonna press forward. I might let you have some definitely awesome tips from Jen and On. Maybe we can let Jen and On share and then I can use my phone and do that. Does that sound good? Sorry, Jen and On.
Yeah, so some tips I will reiterate is to just take it easy and be easy on yourself the first quarter because it's just like a huge transition, especially from semester to quarter system or just like moving to a new environment. And also kind of being able to build community. Give yourself grace and just slowly adjust to the environment. And use your first quarter as an adjustment period to kind of just like explore campus, get involved in clubs and like connect with your professors, maybe through office hours or with your TA as well. There's also going to be like a club fair that is going to be at Library Walk during week 0. So you're kind of able to walk around and see what clubs you're interested in. And then, yeah, utilize office hour early in the quarter. This is like a way for you to connect with like professors and there's not going to be as much people going to office hours as like, going to lectures or discussions. So it's kind of like an opportunity for you to like connect with them and get involved with them. Maybe like they have a lab you're interested in like joining and they do have openings. You can kind of utilize that. And also like building connection with a professor if you're thinking about like going to grad school, like this is like a great way to get letter recommendations from your professors.
A tip that I really want to give you guys is don't be afraid to go out of your comfort zone because everyone is in the same boat. Starting something new can feel very intimidating, but remember that you're not alone and everyone is adjusting and figuring things out too. So don't let that stop yourself from experiencing different opportunities offered at UCSD. And make sure to keep things balanced. School is very important, but balance matters too. San Diego is a very beautiful city, so take advantage of the beach, the sunshine, and everything it has to offer. And lastly, visit us at the Transfer Hub. We love to see you at the Transfer Hub. It is a place where you can find resources, meet other fellow transfer students, and also feel supported on your transfer journey. So stop by and say hi.
To our folks, our peer coaches, as well, we have a great question in the chat about what week 0 is. So before we hop back to Ali, can we also just give a moment to talk about what week 0 is?
So week 0 basically is a week where different different centers at UCSD host social events for incoming or new transfer students to connect with each other. They will host a lot of, movie nights, social events like icebreaker events, ice cream events. They'll give out free food and a lot of opportunity for you to connect with your community. So just make sure to look out for that. Um, I do meet a lot of new friends through week 0. So it is a great opportunity for you to know more about resources offered on campus and also make new friends at UCSD.
Awesome. Okay. Can you all hear me now?
So much better. So much better.
A beautiful thing. We love technology. Okay. Awesome. I will continue sharing my phone. It's funny because it looks like I'm muted, but anyways, so more on academic integrity. I really like this definition of academic integrity because I think it matters a lot, not only for yourselves as students, but for yourselves as people and future professionals, because I think we want friends who are honest and we want to be future workers who are trustworthy and respectful. And so these are all habits that you can build now, especially at UCSD, and even carrying on from your previous institutions. And so another reason I really like this definition is because it's values-based. The key values of integrity as defined by the International Center for Academic Integrity are courage, honesty, trustworthiness, fairness, respect, and responsibility. And so it's an amazing thing. I think it really can make a difference when it comes to setting up those awesome habits and things like that. So you might ask, why does academic integrity matter? ChatGPT is taking the world by storm. I'm sure that you have all heard about it. But I think academic integrity matters for a lot of really important reasons, not only just because you want to avoid getting like violations or cheating in classes, but I think it does have a huge impact. When I was working for this office, we would host seminars, and a big thing that we talked about is stakeholders and people who are impacted by our actions, whether they be big or small. But I think it can impact you personally, professionally, environmentally, and globally. And so when we think about UCSD and the reach that UCSD students have, we have amazing research being conducted that's getting shared all over the world. We have awesome transfer students who come and graduate and move on to amazing professions and even become doctors, lawyers, teachers, so many things. And when you think about those habits that are formed, like I certainly hope I don't have a future professional who maybe cheated their way through their anatomy classes, because that could get a little chaotic and bad. So I think that impact is really important, and it really does have resounding echoes throughout not only our school, but our surrounding environments as well. Another thing, UCSD takes academic integrity very seriously. As I worked in this office, we would get a lot of cases. I would hear from students who would say, like, I didn't know it was cheating, or I didn't think I'd get caught. And it is a really serious thing here. We really value the integrity of your degrees, especially with the types of classes you'll be taking. And I think within the academic integrity office, if you have questions about anything related to that, feel free to put it in the chat or message me. But there are different levels of like severity for academic integrity violations. And so some even result in suspension or expulsion. And so it's really important to take it seriously, make sure that you're aware of those policies and things like that. It also maintains the validity and value of your degree. When you think of your degree, especially like graduating from UCSD, that holds some serious weight when you go to your future when you go into your future professions and you meet with your future supervisors. I think having that UCSD degree means that you worked really hard, you explored and really learned a lot of important content that is related to your future and your profession. So it definitely makes a huge difference and is really important overall. Another thing is UCSD reputation and quality of teaching. And I highlight that because the academic integrity not only focuses on making sure that students are aligning with those policies, but also they work heavily with different professors and people across campus to make sure that their teaching quality is up to par and fair as well. So really good stuff and important, because we want to make sure that your teaching and the research we're producing as an institution is valid and something of high quality. And last but not least, critical thinking, skill building, and foundational knowledge are all crucial for people who choose to offload all of that and use ChatGPT to get through their degree. I feel very sad for them. I think that is a huge waste of time and effort and money, because you're ultimately here to make awesome changes in the world and get a really high quality education. And that is done by doing that work and making sure that you are retaining information, asking questions, and doing that skill building, because I think college is an incredible opportunity and amazing privilege that we get to do. And so I think overall academic integrity is very important. A little bit about how to avoid cheating, even when it's hard. There will be times in the course where you're like, man, it'd be so easy just to like throw this prompt into ChatGPT. But I think there are ways to avoid it and can save you a lot of trouble in the long run. It truly is not worth it. As someone who worked in that office and managed the different like programs for students, it does require a lot of time if you do get a violation and things like that. So things to do: always ask professors to clarify rules, guidelines, any policies they have. If they say you can't use any type of AI, including Grammarly Premium, make sure to don't use those resources, because
There are people who like think they are sneaky or like good at it and it ends up that they're not, and it is a big headache. So I think it's really helpful to clarify with professors. Some professors even encourage you to use it, so it can get a little weird and gray area. I definitely recommend always clarifying, say, can I use outside resources? Can I use AI? Really good to be upfront and make sure that those are clearly established to avoid any possible hiccups or anything like that. Additionally, using resources. We have amazing resources, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but they can make a huge difference in terms of making you feel prepared, ensuring that you have what you need to be successful. And so that can be key. If you feel stuck or like you don't know where to turn, definitely reach out to our office or go to Oasis or those places because it can help a lot. I think also just being a good role model. I think as transfers and people who are junior level standing, there's a lot of people who look up to you, whether that be your friends or your family. And I think it's important to do what's right. And I feel like in my life, when I've seen people who are like making really kind and honest and trustworthy decisions, I'm like, wow, I really value that. And I look up to those people and I want to be more like them. And so that is really important as well. Last but not least, we have some integrity tests. And so that is essentially ways to check if you are maybe doing something that could result in an academic integrity violation, ways to avoid that. One of the biggest ones is the gut feeling test. And I love this because I use it on a daily basis. I think we all have maybe experienced that gut feeling if we're maybe at a crossroads or on the verge of doing something bad or not up to par with our own values and standards. You might get that physical reaction of that pit in your stomach. And I think that is essentially telling your body is telling you that maybe you should like switch up, maybe go down a different route or try a different thing because you're actually having a physiological reaction to negative stimulus. And so maybe check in with your gut, see like maybe that gut feeling is telling you something. And so I think it can be important to rely on that. I'm not going to go through all of them because there's a bunch, but one of the easiest ones is the teacher's right behind me. And so I think in any situation, whether that be studying with friends or I think I've seen students get violations for like splitting up homework with a friend and then ending up having the same answers and turning it in. It's always important to clarify with professors if collaboration is allowed, and if not, imagine that when you're studying or working on that homework with people that the professor is right behind you and seeing what you're doing, because that can be a good test for maybe if you would be doing something differently, then it could be a good opportunity to like pivot and change that. Last but not least, we have the values test. So like I mentioned, those values of integrity, honesty, courage, trustworthiness, responsibility, and respect. If you're feeling like, I think those can be a really good point of comparison. So if you're doing something that is in violation of one of those values, it might kind of put you in a less good space. And it can also be your personal values, things that are important to you, whether that be family, whether that be hard work, or whether that be like compassion. I think your own personal values can be a really important opportunity to reflect on. So just good things to keep in mind. I think you're all incredibly hardworking and I'm excited for you to start at UCSD, but definitely want to make sure that you are prepared and having the resources and just aware that academic integrity is a serious thing. And so want to avoid any of those things coming up. But yeah, like I said, if you have any questions about that at all, I'm more than happy to answer questions. But yeah, to carry on, some of the amazing things I've heard from previous transfers, working with both our coaches and hearing from different transfer leaders across campus. I think some of those look like having a habit of showing up to every class in person. So I think it can be easy to maybe say like, I'm too tired, I signed up for too many morning classes and I don't feel like going. I think making those a really strong priority makes a huge difference. Obviously, if you have an emergency or if you're feeling sick, definitely there are resources to accommodate that, and professors can be really accommodating if you need to have help being caught up. But overall, I've heard again and again, making a habit of showing up to every class in person makes the biggest difference. I like to mention there is something called podcasting. So UCSD professors will record their lectures sometimes, and then they'll upload them so you can watch them at a later date. I like to tell students, this is a trap. Make sure that when you're thinking about the podcasting or watching back, that you're not relying on this as your only way of getting that class content, because a lot of the time, from what I've heard, is professors will cover things before and after the recording hits. That could be really crucial to upcoming tests and midterms. So you don't want to have that FOMO. You want to make sure that you're getting all that content. And I think being in person makes a big difference in how you can retain that knowledge. I think podcasting is an amazing resource if you like to re-review content and make sure that you're staying caught up in reviewing those sessions, but I think relying on them can be a really slippery slope. Sometimes you say, oh, maybe I'll watch it later, and then it gets pushed behind. So definitely make that a good habit, because it makes a huge difference. We also have so many resources. I think it can be actually overwhelming, the amount of resources we have. And so if you're feeling like stuck, or if you don't know where to turn or start, please email us at tritontransfers.edu. We would love to help dwindle it down. We can help you get into the specifics of what you really need help with and make that easier for you, because it can be overwhelming. There's a lot of different names for things. And so definitely use the resources UCSD has. And there's no special awards for not using them. Even if you don't feel like you need it, I'd try it out, because there's tutoring sessions and stuff that can even just help you become better at retaining information and studying. And so definitely recommend. Another do is go to those office hours early on. Even if you don't have specific questions about class content, this can be a huge opportunity to learn more about the class. Even if it's week 1 or 2 and you just want to get well acquainted with the professor, that can be so helpful, and it helps your professor recognize you. You can ask those questions. And even if you don't have those specific questions, you can ask them, hey, what do you think is the best way to study for this class? Or how do you think I can be most successful in this class? Because they are the ones who build the curriculum, they build that class, they're the experts on it. And so they might have some insider knowledge to help you be the most successful. So that is a super pro insider tip, but definitely recommend it. Don't wait. I think as midterms approach, office hours get busier. And so the earlier you can jump on that, the better. And next we have some don'ts. And so these kind of align with the do's. These are quotes that we've gotten from previous transfers. First being, don't skip class for funsies because you want to sleep in, etc. That can kind of create a habit. I think once you do it once, it's easy to do it again. So just want to reiterate, going to class is a good thing. You're paying for that class, so might as well go hang out, ask questions. It is a good thing. Another, like On mentioned, don't push off that studying or homework or getting organized. Things can sneak up very quickly. And so I think being as prepared and organized as you can be is super helpful and makes things less stressful in the long run. And so procrastination, we all do it. We've all been guilty of it. I've been a procrastinator my whole life. But I think with the quarter system, it hits just a little bit harder. So definitely find those study groups, come to our transfer hub, meet with the coach, and we can help you make sure that those things are organized. Last but not least, don't compare your journey to others. You are so awesome. Your journey is so unique to you. And you might hear from other transfers or students who are doing super well in classes, and you're maybe not in that same boat. I think it can be really easy to feel the urge to compare or feel really isolated in that. You're not alone. It is so hard for a lot of people, and you have your whole own academic journey and progress, and it's valuable and important. And so I remember when I was going through undergrad, there's this guy who was he was in the transfer hub at my 4-year institution, and he'd come in, oh, I aced my engineering midterm, I aced this. And I think there was another student who called him out, and they were like, dude, no one really cares how academically rigorous you are, and it's awesome that you're doing well, but everyone's on their own journey. And it's I think for those who find college really hard and challenging, I think that's a really good thing. That means you're doing the right things and pushing yourself, and that is beautiful and important. And so that comparison can feel rough, but know that, yeah, you're not alone and you're super deserving, and we're so grateful that you're here. So just love to reiterate that, and I cannot emphasize that enough. But we already heard our transfer tips from Jen and On, which is so awesome. You can also meet with them. Their coaches available to schedule meetings with. And so if you want to hear a little bit more about their experience, that is definitely an option as well. Last but not least, we have some resources I wanted to cover. And so one of the key ones we have at UCSD is the Academic Achievement Hub. And so they offer a variety of different resources related to studying and tutoring. Can't stress enough, don't skip out on these. Even if you are getting by in classes, this can help change your trajectory so much. They can help make tutoring easy. They can help clarify things. And so we have supplemental instruction, which are peer-led study groups for challenging courses. Highly recommend checking this out. If you scan that QR code or go to the link, they will kind of run through different supplemental instruction they have for classes. So these are essentially like built-in study groups for midterms, things like that can be really, really helpful to have those groups. Next, we have content tutoring. And so there's one-on-one tutoring offered for a group of different classes and specific course material. I remember when I was going through community college, I was like, I don't need resources. I got this. And then when I got to my 4-year, I was like, oh my gosh, give me all the tutoring possible. I thought I could get through it without, but and I think it was a pride thing a little bit. But then once I realized I don't win a special award for not using these, I can benefit so much more in the long run by learning those helpful skills and just having additional support. Even with content I feel pretty good on, it's helpful just to have someone else to chat with it about and get that tutoring. It is really important, and so definitely recommend. And then they also have just different helpful workshops. So they get really into the specifics about study skills and different academic strategies. It's their whole job to make sure that you feel prepared and that you have those specific skills and to study and prepare for classes and tests. And so love Academic Achievement Hub. Definitely check them out and give it a go. Next, we have Oasis, which is another academic resource. They have a variety of different things, one of them being the language and arts tutoring group. And so this is all about writing and reading comprehension and language development. They can help really with a lot of different writing things that happen. And so that is super important. There's also STEM and writing support that cannot be utilized enough. STEM is a big thing, and so those classes can be really challenging. They also offer a community pantry and closet, and so if you need hygiene products, free food, they got that. Additionally, there's some research and global opportunities offered through Oasis, so feel free to scan that QR code or click the link to learn more about what they have to offer. And yeah, that could really be cool to learn more about the scholarships and research that they have. So that's just a quick overview of Oasis. And last but not least, we have some study spots. So UCSD is a very beautiful campus. I think there are tons of great study spots, but just some ones to highlight. Geisel Library 8th floor, that is the quiet study floor. So that's that middle image right there. There's amazing views. It's more quiet. Sometimes it gets a little crowded in midterms and final season, but that's why you can use the transfer hub, which is reservable for quiet study spaces. And we also have a group study room. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of awesome places. 6 College 5th floor terrace, it's open air. There's some food spots around there, really pretty. That's that top image. And then last but not least, we have the Mom's Cafe, which is middle of Muir. It's a little cozy cafe. So some students, if you're ever studying in Panera or things like that, that could be a good place to do so. But yeah, and then if you need more study place recommendations, our coaches are the expert studiers, so you can definitely reach out to them to see if they have any pro tips and things like that. But yeah, I think that pretty much sums up. Oh yes, and Tessa mentioned they have super good coffee and drinks at Mom's. Also, Art of Espresso is a little coffee shack. I frequent there. A lot of our students frequent there. There's also Bird Rock, so there's different places to get caffeinated, which can be very important. But yes, definitely recommend those places. And I think that pretty much sums it up for what we have today for making sure that you feel academically ready and prepared and successful at UCSD. I'm so grateful you're here. I'm really excited for you guys to start classes soon and to help you along that journey. And if you have any questions about things that we covered today or just feel nervous, do not hesitate to reach out. It can be a lot of transitioning and learning new things. And so we want to make sure that you feel good and ready to go. But yes, thank you all for being here, and I will stick around for a little bit if anyone has those questions or anything like that. Ooh, how are the gyms on campus? That is a great question for Cameron or Jenny.